Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all on our YouTube channel where we in today's video are going to discuss other important Marxist literary theorists, right? So we have covered several of them. We are going to move forward with the other theorists in this video. So who are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about Walter Benjamin, Louis Althusser and Pierre Macherey. These are the three prominent theorists that we are going to deal with. Any important terms, if they have coined any, we are going to discuss about them as well. And we are going to take a look at what were their point of views if we try to talk about Marxist, through the Marxist literary lens. How did they view the social production, art, literature, the material conditions of the society? What were their point of views if they differ in any form from one another? Right? So the very first theorist, let's just look at his name. He is Walter Benjamin, born in 1892, Berlin, Germany, and died in 1940 in Spain. Right? He was an influential thinker associated with Adorno, whom we have talked about already in one of the videos. Right? So we see that Adorno was one such person who believed that literature is somewhere or the other does not reflect reality properly, directly, I would rather say, not properly. It does not reflect the reality directly. So you'll have to use your critical stance. This is what he also would try to make sure that we understand through the lens of Marxist literary criticism. Right? Explored the significance of technology in the 19th and 20th century and how technology is going to have an impact on capitalistic mode of production, which is something, an important thing to talk about. Right? Aligned with breadth and examined mass cultures, packaging and consumption. He is going to talk about mass culture. Now, what is mass culture? Mass culture is when something is produced at a very larger level because people are consuming it. So let's just say if you are listening to Punjabi music by any singer, right? You're listening to his or her tracks and you're constantly liking it. The people out there in the other spheres as well who do not even know Punjabi, they are also liking the vibe of the song that they are listening. Then that particular singer now will produce some more songs. So they are consumed at a very much larger scale and they are packaged. So like we have commodities, like we have objects, etc. available in the bazaars to buy and consume. हम आटा लेके आते हैं, उससे रोटी बनाते हैं, we drink juice, etc. These things are packed and we consume them. Same is the case with the art and literature. Even if we try to talk about the music industry, they package the entire thing because they know people are going to like these kinds of songs, right? Emphasized a Marxist standpoint in his analysis. So he's a Marxist, talks about things through a Marxist literary lens. Technological impact of his, explored the profound impact of technology on urban and industrial societies and investigated the development of media and its role in shaping culture. And so will he write a book that would be associated with this mechanical reproduction, which will be associated with the technology that he's trying to put an emphasis on, that how technology is also changing the viewpoints of the people who are ready to consume what is being served to them, right? He analyzed mass culture through a Marxist lens. He is contrary to Adorno in this sense, believed media could eliminate elitism in art, offering political freedom. He says that we can get political freedom, so on and so forth, and he is here somewhere or the other opposing the views of Adorno, right? Adorno ne kya kaha tha? That whatever we are seeing is not directly representing the things. There are some hidden structures as well which we are yet to uncover, right? Then the work of art in the age of mechanical reproduction is the name of his most important work because he talks about technology, right? He talks about art. He argued that technological innovations transform the concept, status and value of art. Why and how? Let's just assume that before the 14th century, we see that in the age of Chaucer, William Wycliffe, ठीक है, John Wycliffe, sorry, he would be one such person who would try to do what? Who would try to publish or write the very first translation of the Bible. Now, at that time, we see no technology was there. Manuscripts were produced. People used to write things haathon se. Handwritten manuscripts were there. So they were not really produced. They were not really being produced at a larger level. But with the advent of the printing press in the entire Europe by Johann Gutenberg, and then coming to England by whom? By William Caxton. William Caxton इसको लेके आते हैं 1456 में the printing press by Johann Gutenberg by publishing the very first Bible, right? By printing the very first Bible in the entire Europe, right? It is something that is done in the year 1456 के around. Roughly. Then around 1476, after 20 years, the printing press arrives in England with William Caxton. So he tries to publish books now. So you see how the society is trying to take a turn with the technology that is being advanced. People firstly used to write handwritten manuscripts, and then later on, जब printing press आ जाती है, then we see that how the same copies of one book, they are going to be reproduced time and again. Right? They are going to be consumed by a wider audience. This is what he is going to, this is what Benjamin tries to talk about. The technology plays a very important role in, you know, transforming the concept, status and value of art. आज के टाइम में भी there are many printing presses, there are many publishing houses. So you see, one book, even we see the pirated copy with the Penguin logo etc. Penguin Random House का logo लगा हुआ होता है, Harper Collins का लगा हुआ होता है, right? But we are getting those books for only 150 or 200 rupees, correct? So you see that how the technology is transforming because people want to consume more of the things that are being presented or represented to them, right? Enable the reproduction of artworks, making art accessible to the masses. This is what he calls mass culture, where people are also ready to consume, and because of this consumption, lots and lots of production of the same product, imitate कर करके same product जो है उसकी multiple copies create करी जा रही है. Why? Because people want to consume it through the production that is there, right? Dynamic relationship in the art production. He emphasized that dynamic relationship between a work of art and evolving conditions of art production. Right? How art is going to be produced, focused on the changing nature of artistic techniques. Even if we are not talking about just the production and the consumption, we see the artist, कोई भी novel writer होगा, कोई भी poetry लिखने वाला होगा, वो भी समय के साथ they change. Right? We see them changing along with the time that is there. So if I read the poem from the Romantic age, if I read any poem of Keats, if I read any poem of Shelley, if I read any poem of Wordsworth, I will see that how is it different from T.S. Eliot's. I will see how is it different from, Lawrence ne, D.H. Lawrence ne majorly, though he has written novels only, but I also penned down several poems. And we see what is demanded by the public is what mostly is produced by the writer as well. So the artistic techniques also keep on changing with varying times and what the audience need to consume, right? This is what he says. The changing nature of artistic techniques, that will also totally be dependent on what the audience want, right? Moving forward, he talks about one such thing, which is the quote I have provided here, because at times wo pooch bhi lete hain aap log se quote. Technology has subjected the human sensorium to a complex kind of training that these products need to be consumed. He illustrates, this particular quote illustrates his perspective on the transformative impact of technology on human perception and culture, how it can impact one thing or the other, right? This is what he says. So technology का एक role अदा होता है. So these are the important works, the major works, and I already tell you, हमेशा से ये चीज याद रखनी है that whatever is the subtitle, you need to make sure that you are noting down the subtitle, etc. You're noting down the important translators of any important works because he's a very important Marxist critic as well. So you can pause the video here, note down the major works, and then move forward by playing it. Then we have the next theorist in line, Louis Althusser. Louis Althusser was born in 1918 in French Algeria and passed away in 1990 in Paris, France. France है तो French Marxist philosopher होंगे, right? Associated with structural Marxism. What is structural Marxism? Marxism as a literary theory we have already talked about. But what was structural Marxism? Structuralism as an important literary school, literary theory I would rather say, has already developed. ठीक है, तो structuralists क्या believe करते हैं? They believe that there is some sort of structure which is controlling and governing the entire system. So he was one such person that maybe in the field of capitalism as well, there is some sort of structure which is there, right? Intensified commitment to Marxism during the 1950s and post-1968 European context, and we'll see how. He reinterpreted Marx's works identifying structuralist and post-structuralist elements. Post-structuralists अलग कहेंगे बातें. Structuralists are just going to talk about how there is some sort of hidden system that is governing the entire structures entirely, right, in a society. Collaborations with Yatin Balbara in works like Reading Capital and For Marx, division of Marx's work into two phases, emphasizing the post-1845 period. So he has done that. He has divided the works of Marx in two categories, but putting more emphasis on the post-1845 period. Now he gave us a theory of relative autonomy. Introduce the concept of relative autonomy within the social formation. Responded to Marx's assertion about Greek art's eternal beauty, that how Greek art, even अगर आज के टाइम पे भी हम लोग व्यू करते हैं, it is somewhere or the other, I see sculptures and even if somebody is just ऐसे उन्होंने हाथ भी दबाया होता है, तो दबाए हाथ के जो निशान होते हैं, we also see all those things happening in shown उस particular stance पे there. Right? अब बेंजामिन क्या कर रहे थे? बेंजामिन का I already told you, Walter Benjamin. I gave you an example, right? He tries to talk about if there is rap जो लोगों को पसंद है, people will start moving ahead in the industry of rapping, and because they know that that's going to be consumed at a very larger level by the public. Now will come Althusser. Althusser will say that any other ideology that is there, चाहे हमारा school है, educational system है, that is going to emphasize the ideology that people have. जी ये मैं सिर्फ आपको, I'm just telling you this thing on a larger superficial level अभी. He acknowledged that different social levels possess their relative autonomy. They have some sort of freedom, and that is relative in its nature, right? Ideology in literature. Now, ideology as Marx has described, we have already covered that. Ideology as Althusser puts it, we are going to talk about it. We know ideology is something which has some sort of political stance hidden beneath it, diverged from the traditional Marxist perspective on literature, views literature as an ideological form or state apparatus. What is a state apparatus? We are going to shortly take a look at that. He explored how literature operates within the framework of ideology. Whatever important ideology would be, whatever dominant class जो भी हमारी society में आएगी, that dominant class will make sure that they are spreading what they believe in and people are trying to believe it, right? So if we try to talk about Althusser's viewpoint here, we see that if you remember George Orwell's work, 1984, you see a character which is never shown in the work. His name is what? His name is Big Brother. And you see this quote somewhere or the other, time and again being repeated in the novel, Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother is watching you. So you see how any person, any group of people that come in power, they are going to shape the ideology of people. And यहाँ पे in the novel we see 1984 में there is this identity that we do not know of who he really is, but he has been given the name Big Brother. And he is somewhere or the other trying to shape the individual, group or people. हर एक तरीके से he is trying to emphasize, influence the behaviors of the people, and he is trying to set some sort of propaganda. He is trying to be the person जिसके ऊपर जो सब चीजों की surveillance रख रहा है. So people are working under this particular point, and they know that they are being observed, so they have to maintain and they have to be in line with the ideology that is being spread by Big Brother, character who is never shown in the novel per se, right? So we see that thing. Now he interprets and emphasize the material manifestation of ideological beliefs, that how materialistically those ideological beliefs do come. आज के time पे, if we try to talk about, there are many companies, there are many things, उनके बीच में भी we see ना CCTV cameras लगे होते हैं. They are for our protection, but they can be used against us as well. Now, what if in the upcoming times there is surveillance everywhere and we are not even having the personal times for our own selves as well? No privacy. क्या पता कब कैसा हो जाए. Introduced interpolation, where ideology persuade individuals to adopt a specific worldview. We are supposed to just think like that, as Big Brother is trying to say. In 1984, we also see that there's no concept of love, but only one can indulge in sexual intercourse with the opposite gender just to gain the pleasure out of it, and nothing else. Nothing, no concept of love, no concept of making love even, right? Distinguish between ideology as a structure and ideologies with specific content. Now, what content? Let's just see. Structure or content को कैसे देखते हैं वो? Democracy as a structure is an ideology that is there. That democracy perpetually होती है, होनी चाहिए, especially in India, with varied political parties which are having different ideologies. They have different ways of thinking. So we see that how the entire structure with many structures that are there from one ideology to different sorts of ideology, and that ideology is going to construct a different meaning for each and every party, right? Moving forward, interpolation, it is coined by Althusser to describe how ideologies, and ideologies in this sense I'm talking about, how ideologies which are plural, if we are taking this example only, right, how ideologies call individuals into specific subject positions, emphasizes the active belief and engagement in practices aligned with the particular ideology, that you are supposed to behave like this only, you're supposed to eat like this, you're supposed to sit like this, so some sort of ideology, right? Political advertisements persuading voters to adopt a specific worldview by framing issues in a particular light. They are showing to, maybe they are trying to show the other party in a negative light just because they want themselves to be looked upon in a positive light, right? Joining a protest aligns with an individual's active belief in a specific ideology, demonstrating interpolation. So this is an example of interpolation, when people have some sort of active belief in something and they try to indulge in that because उनका एक ideology में believe होता है, ठीक है? That is interpolation. Then we have state apparatuses, as I already told you. So state apparatuses में Althusser divides it into two parts. Number one, he gives us the name RSA, repressive state apparatus, right? RSA and ISA. ISA includes institutions like schools and churches that propagate ideology. That is, the full form is ideological state apparatus. You see the name itself, ideology propagate करनी है. Repressive state apparatus involve institutions like police and military for coercion. Discipline maintain करने के लिए, repressive, where people are going to repress you physically by coercion, by force, just like police does, to maintain law and order, just like military does, by force. But if we try to talk about ideology somewhere or the other plays with your mind, somewhere or the other manipulates you. So better क्या है इसमें से option? He is trying to show us that ideological state apparatus जो होता है, the dominant group, party, person, whosoever is in the power here, if he played with the minds of the people, he would set an ideology. He will manipulate their minds. This is ideological state apparatus that he tries to talk about. And they both contribute to shape a particular worldview within the society. Both of them are required. रिप्रेसिव भी चाहिए, फिजिकली पावर प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए, लोगों को लॉ एंड ऑर्डर में रखने के लिए आइडियोलॉजिकल भी चाहिए, ताकि आप उनके माइंड के साथ भी उनकी आइडियोलॉजी को चेंज कर सको टू ब्रेन वॉश और मैनिपुलेट एज वेल. ISA, school curriculum shaping students' worldview by presenting historical events from a specific perspective. Here I'll give you an example of the British schools only. They do not show that they have colonized India as well. They do not talk about that. That is not in their syllabus or curriculum. Because they want to show that, yes, of course, Britain has been a country which has been spreading things and expanding under the rule of Queen Elizabeth, under this and that. But they will never show that they have colonized people as well. They have called them barbaric. They have mistreated them. They have called them uncivilized. They will not show that. अपनी negative side क्यों दिखाना नहीं चाहेंगे वो, ठीक है? This is something that they are doing that. That is ISA. RSA, police enforcing laws to maintain social order using coercive measures when necessary. So अगर जहाँ पे उनको जरूरत है कि force की जरूरत है, they will use the force. So that is done physically, ideological mind के साथ, right? Then he also gives us a term by the name overdetermination, which challenges the Marxist notion that economic base solely dictates superstructure. So we have seen most of the times we are in, अगर हम बात करें, this is the base where all the economic productions are there. This is the superstructure where art, literature, etc. will exist, and they will exist एक दूसरे पे dependent होके, right? So if we try to talk about, we have already always seen the typical Marxist point of view is कि base जो है वो superstructure को determine करता है. We've already seen that. It introduces overdetermination, suggesting that beliefs result from the multiple influencing factors. There might be other factors as well, not just the material production. There must be some other factors as well which influence the superstructure. For example, public opinion on climate change influenced not only by economic factors, सिर्फ economic factors, पैसा base में जो था, material production, that was not only the sole purpose that led people to think about climate change, but also by media, personal experiences and cultural values. These three things were also the ones which influenced the superstructure entirely, not just the base, not just the material economic condition of the society. So this is where he goes somewhere or the other different from a traditional Marxist point of view, right? His major works are Reading Capital and for Marx with Etienne Bolivar, 1970, Lenin and Philosophy, 1971, Philosophy and the Spontaneous Philosophy of the Scientists, and other essays, 1990. So you can pause and note. Then we have the next person, Pierre Macherey, French Marxist, born on May 17, 1938 in Belgium, right? Associated with structuralist and Marxist tradition influenced by Louis Althusser. So he has taken somewhere or the other the stances of the theorists that we have just discovered, that is Louis Althusser. Louis Althusser, right? Then इनमें ये क्या कहेंगे, अब we have this person by the name of Pierre Macherey. He will try to talk about the hidden meanings, right? Let's just see how. He has written a major work, A Theory of Literary Production, in the year 1966, distinctive perspective on literary theory, and argues that a literary text, through its form and fiction, creates separation from the underlying ideology. It separates itself from the underlying ideology. So, when I was discussing major theorists with you, I have already tried to talk about Orwell's use of allegory in the work. So we have यहाँ पे ना जॉर्ज ऑरवेल इज वेरी प्रोमिनेंट एज अ राइटर बिकॉज उस टाइम पे ये सारी चीजें होने लग गई थी. जॉर्ज ऑरवेल्स वर्क एनिमल फार्म, it uses the mode of allegory. It uses the mode of allegory to somewhere or the other, if we try to see, to critique the abuse of power. Because उस टाइम पे सोवियत यूनियन जो थी वो पावर में आ गई थी, तो just to critique the Soviet Union, he has taken up animals as a animal farm mein characters are majorly animals, pigs, etc. We have horses and everything like that, hens, etc. We see how through the allegorical nature that is there, he has tried to see the things which were hidden beneath the surface. So, सीधा directly वार नहीं करा है, he has taken some sort of different point of view here. He argues silences and gaps in literary text is what he says, and he argues that silences or gaps within a text serve a dual purpose. These omissions, these gaps that a writer leaves, अगर उन्होंने animals के through Soviet Union को, अब कोई normal इंसान सोचे, they will not be able to make sense of, अच्छा Soviet Union को कैसे कर सकता है? How can he do that? How can he use animals and all to depict the Soviet Union and to mock or critique it? Normal person would not say, think about things like that in a critical light, but a person who has that critical stance would try to. So, यहाँ पे Macherey is trying to talk about these omissions only, which conceal and reveal. They will conceal as well because he is using animals, and they are revealing as well that Orwell is trying to somewhere or the other critique the ideological contradictions that are there, the abuse of power that is there, right? If we take another example, I'll tell you, unconscious content. Macherey suggests that silences represent the text's unconscious, that the text itself is not aware of. Identifies a conflict within the text itself, a clash between the text and its ideological content. What does it try to propagate? What does it try to show? What was the ideology there and then? What does it try to critique is what the text will show us. So it will reveal, it will conceal as well. Agar yahan pe I give you the example of the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. You see here is the character by the name Gregor Samsa, right? One day he wakes up in the morning and find himself to be an transformed, metamorphosized. Metamorphosis का मतलब क्या होता है? Transformation. He finds himself turned into an insect, that too a cockroach, a very giant insect. His family is isolating, धीरे धीरे उसको isolate करने लग जाती है. So we can see that how through the work, literal life में it cannot happen, but how through the work Kafka has tried to show us the dehumanizing effects of capitalism, that how it isolates the people from their own families. हम लोग अपने work के उसमें निकलते हैं कि हाँ जी हम अपना career बना लेंगे, पैसे अच्छे मिल रहे हैं, निकल जाते हैं. But we are isolated from our own families and all. This is what he tries to show us through the work, the Metamorphosis. And this is what Macherey is trying to say, that it will reveal bhi, क्योंकि character हमें एक insect दिख रहा है, which is unbelievable to see somebody waking up one morning and seeing them being transformed into a giant insect. That's unbelievable. So it's concealing something, and on the other side, it's also revealing that how the capitalistic stance on people is having the dehumanizing effects. Later on, उनकी जो बहन है, वो भी उनसे ग्रेगर की जो sister होती है, she also starts isolating him. कुछ दिन के लिए उनका ध्यान रखती है, and then later on, she also isolates him. Role of Marxist critic, according to Macherey, is to vocalize these silences, to bring them forward. Aims to bring to light the text unconscious content. So we as a reader, whosoever is going to have that critical stance, will understand what the writer is trying to show. So the unconscious content will come to the surface itself. His major works, you can pause and note. And with this, we are done with yet another video with the important critics of Marxist literary theory. I hope you all have understood. If you have any doubts, you can drop down them in the comment section below. Also, there are videos available in Hindi and English, both on our channel. So you can choose the language based on your preference, seeing the subject, etc., viewing the playlist and all. Right? I'll see you guys again in some another video. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.